Good evening, sir. Good evening, sir. Sir, audible ആണോ കേൾക്കുന്നുണ്ടോ? സാറിൻ്റെ ഓഡിയോ ഓഫാണ്. ഗുഡ് ഈവനിങ് പാർട്ടിസിപ്പൻസ്. നമ്മുടെ റിസോഴ്സ് പേഴ്സൺ ഇപ്പോൾ ജോയിൻ ചെയ്തിട്ട് പുള്ളി പിന്നെ ലെഫ്റ്റ് ആയിപ്പോയി. ഇൻ 5 minutes പുള്ളി ഇപ്പം തന്നെ ജോയിൻ ചെയ്യുവേ. ഒന്ന് വെയിറ്റ് ചെയ്യണേ. Good evening, sir.
Hello, can you hear now?
Yes, sir. Yes.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Okay. Good
Yeah.
evening, sir. Good evening, friends. So let's begin our new session of Certificate Course Media Ethics and Law. Let's begin with the welcome speech. So I invite Bensi M. Raj to deliver the welcome address.
A very good evening to one and all present here. With immense pleasure, I would like to welcome Mr. B. Srijan sir, Bureau Chief of Times of India. It's a great privilege and honor to have you here, sir. We extend our gratitude for taking time out of your busy schedule to take this session. And my heartfelt gratitude to all the students present here for taking a keen part in this virtual program. Thank you.
Thank you, Bensi. So let's start the session. Over you to see.
Okay, so is there a format for the session so that whether I need to speak for half an hour and is there any interaction time scheduled or? Hello.
Sir, we have up to 5 o'clock, we have time.
Okay.
If
So,
you have any doubts, queries, or comments, they will ask at the end of the session.
okay. So,
After your
sure.
conclusion, they will ask.
Okay. So then I will plan it in such a way that I'll speak for some 20-25 minutes. Then it is up to the questions. We can plan it like that, right?
Okay, sir. 5 or 10 minutes will be okay for.
Yeah. Questions. Okay. Okay. Fine. Okay. So, very good evening to all of you. And thank you very much for inviting me to be part of this program. So, what I have been given as a topic for today is hate speech, paid news, and media. So, as you all know, uh, paid news and hate speech both are very controversial topics which are lively being debated around us in the media, not only in the media industry, but also in the general public, among general public also. These are now becoming hot topics of debate. Hate speech. I don't need to tell you about examples or anything. So every day we are coming across so many such incidents of hate speech. No, I think I don't need to even define what is hate speech. You all know hate speech is some communication, some form of communication that is intended to create hate among individuals or different sections of people. That is the broad definition of hate speech. So I was just day before yesterday. I was reading one of the online. I see. For some reason, I'm not going to name it individual uh, media organizations. So because there are so many organizations which are engaged in unethical practices, so there is no point in singling out someone and blaming. So I'll be narrating examples, but I'll refrain from naming the organizations here. So in one of the organizations, I read a story. So that story was based on Rahul Gandhi's speech in Wayanad the day before yesterday. So during that speech, Rahul Gandhi was referring to the farmer agitation going on in New Delhi and how the agitation by farmers invited global attentions. And he also narrated the support that protests gathered from international celebrities like Rihanna, Greta Thunberg, and all. So that was a plain speech. If you go and report, if you're reading our newspapers, if you're reading any of the major mainstream media, so you read it like this only, how I narrated, how the premises of the protest, how that protest was viewed by the global community, how that protest could generate support from VIPs. So in one of the right-wing online portals, the story was reported in such a way that Rahul Gandhi supports Rihanna, who who humiliated Lord Ganesha by wearing his locket on her in a disrespectful manner. So the article also has a picture of Rihanna's latest picture. I think that picture was released in Rihanna's Instagram and Twitter handle some 3 or 4 days ago. She was, it is a semi-nude picture, and if you zoom in, you will find out that the locket of the chain she is wearing has some resemblance to Lord Ganesha. I'm not sure whether it is Ganesha or not. So the online media which reported the speech of Rahul Gandhi, instead of saying what he said, just tweaked the speech and said that Rahul Gandhi is supporting Rihanna, who is humiliating or assaulting Hindu god Lord Ganesha. So you can understand what is the intention of doing such reporting. So when and another recent episode that you all might have been noticed when Disha Ravi was arrested. So you saw a lot of fuss in the social media saying that Disha Ravi's actual name is Disha Ravi Joseph. So on the very minute if that story was put out by so many media, when those media, those stories came to the public domain within 10 minutes or 15 minutes, responsible media, a few of the responsible media, they have published counter stories saying that it is a fake campaign. It is absurd. They wrote everything about who Disha Ravi's mother is, who Disha Ravi's grandparents are, everything they wrote. Even still, people continued that hate campaign. The very day and the very next day, there were handles, right-wing handles, which were saying that then they changed the track of the controversy. They said we are not blaming his mother or grandparents, but the name of his father is Ravi Joseph, and that way she is Disha Ravi Joseph, and she is a Christian by birth, and Christians are always doing conspiracy, always engaging in conspiracy against our country. So that is one another recent example. So one of the things that surprises me, and maybe that will surprise all of you, is that even after somebody clarifying that in this case, at least 5 or 6 fact-checking media like News Minute and all, they have published detailed stories saying that Disha Ravi is somebody else. Disha Ravi's grandparents were farmers. They were all from Hindu community. They were living there and all. They were living a modest life and all. But even after that, this campaign, this organized campaign of Disha Ravi Joseph was there in the Twitter. It was there in the Facebook. It was running like anything in the selected WhatsApp groups formed for some particular purposes. So I don't know how many of you have noticed that one of the recent stories in News Laundry. So News Laundry had this story on what is happening the fake news industry among these right-wing supporters. So a couple of two reporters of News Laundry, they have joined one of the WhatsApp group that is supposed to be nationalistic, that is supposed to uphold the identity of Hindu identity of people. And such a group they have accidentally ended or they have purposefully ended, and they remained in those WhatsApp groups for quite some time and found out how this fake news industry thrives there. So the report is available. It is still available on public domain. I think one of the newspapers here, Mathyamam, last week they have published a full translation of that report in Malayalam also. So the crux of the report is that the groups which promote such hate speech or fake news, they work in a very organized manner. So there are multiple WhatsApp groups of supporters. So you can the WhatsApp group cannot 256 persons in one group, and I think there were hundreds of such WhatsApp groups. Also, there are Telegram channels. The Telegram channels have no restrictions in membership. They can add so many people, and every night, the leaders of this campaign, there is a core group that is administering the entire campaign. So this core group will discuss among themselves and take some subject that can easily be tweaked in such a way that it creates some fake nationalism narrative. It creates a feeling that the Hindu identity is questioned by some decisions of somebody. Some they find their political opponents by somebody. So all these messages are designed, and they prepare similar messages. They pass these messages to the other WhatsApp groups and Telegram channels, and they fix a time tomorrow at 9 a.m. Start tweeting with this hashtag, such hashtag. So I think if there are some 50,000 or 60,000 followers through the WhatsApp groups and Telegram channels, at least half of them, one third of them, some 20,000, start to tweet with that hashtag at 9 o'clock. By 10, 11, it will naturally be trending because people who are seeing that hashtag will naturally join the discussion also. So that is how we see the trends in Twitter and all are created these days. So this is a broad concept on the hate speech scenario where we are today. And now the role of mainstream media. So what is happening in this such a scenario? So whether it is, so that is what I said a bit earlier. Whether Disha Ravi is Disha Ravi Joseph or Disha Ravi only is not a question before me as a journalist who are covering the episode, unfortunate episode in which she has been trapped into these days. So, but I will be forced to do that when such a false narrative is going on. As a responsible journalist, it is my duty to check the veracity of that campaign and write an article busting the myth of addressing the fake campaign. So in that way, accidentally or purposefully, I will also become a part of this hate speech scenario, the whole hate speech scenario. Though my intention is different, I will also have to tell somebody that this is not the scenario. This is not right. So that way, unnecessarily, I will be also dragged into this controversy. So, as a responsible mainstream media, the duty of the media is to report truth, and so in that way, it is my duty also. But so you think the other way. What is the need for I am doing all these things? Because it is not an issue at all. Otherwise, if somebody had created such a campaign, I wouldn't have been bothered at all. But now I am also in a vicious circle, trying to argue with them or trying to confront their fake campaign with facts and give a narrative. So when, as you know, the mainstream media in India is also controlled by corporate forces, and there were so many owners who are having political ambitions, interests, and all. So they theoretically say media is independent, media is neutral, and all. In practical, it is not the reality. The forces that own or manage the media has a control, policy level control over media. So if I own a newspaper and my political allegiance is with a particular party, it is quite natural that there will be some bias, at least some bias by that media towards the political belief of the owner. So unfortunately, what we see around us today is that this bias breaks all their limits. In the past, there will be some cover up. Even as we are biased, we will take precautions. This mainstream media will take precautions to ensure that the bias is not exposed while reporting a story or while conducting a debate or nothing. But these days it is all gone. So there was some usage in one of the major newspapers in Malayalam, which is accused of its bias to a particular political ideology. There is this terminology, deemed neutrality, which is often used in their editorial meetings and all. So the intention is only that you need not be neutral, but the readers should at least feel that you are neutral. So that is what they mean by deemed neutrality. So, but today, all such notions are gone, all such hypocrisies are gone. There is nothing like deep neutrality. People take sides. If you watch the mainstream media, if you watch the discussions in the late night discussions, people take plain sides and argue for that. So that is something which was not there at least some 10 years ago or 15 years ago. The scenario was not like that. So that is the state of Indian media, where they are confronted with the serious issues of paid news and hate speech. So regarding this paid news also, so we haven't gone to that episode. So paid news is also one topic which is given to me. So I don't know how many of you remember the paid news, the way word paid news became popular in India in 2009, 2010, during 2009, 2010. So that time what happened is that Ashok Chavan, you may remember, he was the Maharashtra Chief Minister. Ahead of the 2009 election, can I take a minute break? I need to take a call. 1 minute. Sorry. So paid news, the word paid news was popularized, became popular in 2009, 2010. Then this Maharashtra Chief Minister Ashok Chavan, there was on news report and follow up that saying that Ashok Chavan purchased a number of small media, mainstream media and small media in Maharashtra. So these Maratha newspapers were all giving colorful coverage to him ahead of elections. So there were stories in almost all these Maratha media which were purchased by Ashok Chavan, that saying that Ashok Chavan is a great leader. He has initiated a lot of development initiatives for the government and all. So later it found out that he paid for all this editorial space. If for a page on story that measures 8 column and this many centimeter, he was paying the newspaper this much a sum. So there was a probe, and the probe found out that such practice existed, and he was action was taken against him by the Election Commission of India. So in the years that followed, during every election, there were complaints like this, and at least a dozen of such examples were probed by the election commissions and found that politicians who were misusing the media were guilty of bribing the media so that positive coverage about them could be created ahead of election time. So the term paid news got familiarized in India in the context of election. Even now, if you say, now these elections are coming in Kerala in 2021, so what will be happening in 2021 election? So ahead of that, the election commission, this has now become a normal process. Election commission will form committees. In every district, there will be committees. These committees will scrutinize all media, television media, internet media, and these newspapers. So if there is any news item that creates a feeling that it is a paid news, so there will be probe against that official, that political leader, and if found guilty, he will be disqualified from the election. So election commission has made this a permanent feature. In all elections, every returning officer appoints a team to vet paid news. So if there is paid news, that will be caught and action will be taken. So that way, Press Council of India also in the next year, 2010 and all, they have done a detailed study on the paid news scenario, and they have submitted a report. Later by 2012, Parliament Standing Committee on IT. So they have done a detailed coverage of this paid news thing, and they have submitted their recommendations to the Press Council and as well as the Information and Broadcasting Ministry. So if you peruse those reports are available on internet. Press Council's report, also the Parliament Standing Committee's report, all these are available on the internet. And if you peruse those reports, there were a few reasons which were cited by these committees for the reasons that governed paid news. See, according to this Standing Committee of IT report on issues related to paid news, there are reasons cited for the increasing incidence of paid news are: 1, corporatization of media; 2, disaggregation of ownership and editorial roles; 3, decline in autonomy of editors, journalists; and 4, poor wage levels of journalists. So these are the 4 reasons which were mentioned in the Standing Committee of IT's report that are cited as the reasons that fuel the tendency of paid news in Indian media. So one of them obviously is corporatization of media. So that is what we spoke earlier also. So how it is fueling this paid news scenario? I mean, it is natural, as you all know. When a corporate governs any business industry, the ultimate objective is to make profit. When it makes profit, the next objective will be to make more profit. So making profit will be the only aim of a corporate media, like any other corporate industry. So you know what is the major source of income for a media? It is advertisement. Advertisement in the form of visual advertisements. They sell time slots, and in print they sell space on newsprint on news space. So if there is a limit for the revenue that can be produced through advertising. So when the motive of profit becomes more strong, they will be thinking about innovative way of monetizing. So that is how this phenomenon of paid news, how it evolved. So they will say if putting an advertisement, if the rate of the column centimeter is ₹100, so what if we camouflage that advertising as a news story? So that the reader will think that it is a news story, but actually it is an advertisement camouflaged as a news story. So if you get only ₹100 for column centimeter, square centimeter for an advertisement, the tariff for this paid news will be some 600 or 1,000 or something, some 6 times, 10 times, 12 times would be the tariff of that story. So that way they can generate more revenue, and that was the motive of the origin of this trade. So then after these strictures have been imposed, press council strictures have come, election commission strictures have come, and all these things are now in place. So normally respected and reputed media houses now refrain from the practice of doing such things directly. They never, I don't think nobody now publishes paid news of as it. But there are advertorials, marketing supplements, but all those things, you can't equate it as a paid news. If it is an advertorial, we'll announce, disclose that. You should check marketing supplement. You will be saying regularly with your newspaper, it is a marketing supplement. That means it is kind of an advertisement. So all these disclosures are made promptly. We can count that as a paid news. So paid news is totally hidden. It is camouflaged as a news, 100% news, but actually it is an advertisement. But I think there are magazines and organizations even now doing like this. There will be some tricky names like Spotlight, Focus Feature, something like that. So you may first get confused, what is this? So then you think that it is just another feature, but actually it might be some advertisement. So all these tactics are now employed by the media. But an ideal situation, a media should not be engaged in such practices. So this is quite unethical. If you are doing, if you are promoting an advertiser as through a news column, it is not an ethical practice at all. Moreover, the issue of conflict of interest arises there seriously, because you are advertiser or your friend or your relative and you are promoting him. The conflict of interest angle is there. So it is not at all professional. If somebody practices this is not professional, and in the long run it will be damaging the profession of journalism very seriously, such practices also. So what we can do, so I think that is one interesting area where, so readers like you should be aware of all these things. I think only when you are aware that there is a tendency called paid news, you can be able to identify the paid news, or you can tell your friends, or you can tell all your friends this piece of thing is a fake news. Don't be deceived by that. Or like say similarly the hate speech angle. If you are aware of the hate speech, and if you identify what is a hate speech, you can at least caution your closed circle. And in today's world, you all may be using social media, and it is so may not be a closed circle. You are having a broad circle of friends or followers, and you can tell them that this is a dangerous story, this is not factual, this story is intended to create a communal divide or whip up some other passions, and all those cautions you can give. So it is really important to identify the nature of hate speech and paid news, and as a duty, as your duty, as the responsible reader or as a responsible citizen of our country. So it is your duty to flag authorities and flag your colleagues and friends and all about these these practices also. So that is one thing I think you will have to do. So if you check websites, if you just Google, there will be tips. There's so many tips there will, how you can identify a fake news, how you can identify between misinformation, disinformation, and malinformation. All these things are there. There are online tools, Press Council and Reuters and all those serious journalists and institutes have created toolkits, or toolkit is a very serious word now, created tools with which you can easily identify which is a fake news or hate speech or something. So I request you all to engage in that practice also, while along with reading a story, reading a newspaper article, along with listening to a television report. You should keep this in mind also. Whenever you find that if there is some issue with that story, some issue with it, you just do some background research and find out that whether it is a proper story or whether there is some vicious intention behind that story. If it is a vicious story, I think you need to shout it out. Do a Facebook live, or you can post it on Facebook, or you tweet, or everywhere, or in your friends WhatsApp group, in your family WhatsApp group, in your 10th standard alumni WhatsApp group, wherever you are, you can flag them. Seriously, this story is not. This story has this much problems, and also you can write to the editor also. See, all these mainstream media and social media pages are, or you don't need to take an inland and write a letter and post it like previously we used to write letters to the editor. You can directly go to the Facebook page or Instagram page of the media organization. Even soon below down the story, you can write a comment, oh, this is not a good news, or oh, this is not factual. You can flag them also. So people like me who are sitting at the editorial and monitoring all these things, we also take note of such comments. If in our Facebook page, if there are some angry reactions to one of our stories, we will also revise. We will also take we will call back the facts, copies and all. We will find out whether we have erred. If we have erred, we also, if there is a factual error, we will obviously carry a correction and all. And if that is not a factual error or the way of treatment we have made is wrong, in future we will be cautious with like how we can prevent such a lapse. So as young readers and young viewers, I request you all to be very proactive in dealing with media. So this is a time of participatory approach, I think. Everywhere we are hearing and thinking about the participatory approach. So let media also have a participatory approach. You should interact with the media. You should point out their mistakes to them. And if they do some good, you can congratulate them. And let there be a participatory model of media education or media monitoring as well. So that is, I think, the ideal way to correct the wrong steps of the media also. So I think with these words, I am concluding now. If any of you have any doubts, I'll be only happy to clarify my points. So over to you now. You can either send it as messages. I think it will be popping up here, or you can switch on the mic and tell us.
Participants, if you have any doubts, comments, or queries about the session he done, so you can ask now.
I think all of your future lawyers actually have to ask questions, right? A good lawyer needs to think hard also.
Doubts ഒന്നും ഇല്ലേ? Sir, since the session is clear, I think there is doubt or comments like that.
Okay.
Okay, sir, shall we wind up the session?
Yeah,
I think so. Okay, so
Yeah.
let's move on to vote of thanks. So I invite Abhirami to deliver the vote of thanks.
Gratitude turns what we have into enough. Good evening, one and all. I'm Aprami, final year student of Government Law College, Trivandrum. It's an honor for me to have this opportunity to grace this wonderful session with a vote of thanks. On behalf of Government Law College, Trivandrum and the entire fraternity of this virtual gathering, I extend my hearty gratitude to Mr. B. Srijan Sir, Bureau Chief, Times of India, Trivandrum, to take out his time from his busy schedule to grace this auspicious session. Sir, it gave deep insights into the topic hate speech, paid news and media. It has been an informative session which covered various aspects on role of fake news, deemed neutrality, status of paid news in Indian media, ideal ways to correct the wrong stems of media. And sir, this will definitely help us in our studies and future. Thank you, sir, for enlightening us with your valuable words. Next,
Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Next, I would like to thank our principal, Dr. Abhijikumar sir, for his support and guidance for organizing this certificate course. Also, my sincere thanks to the student coordinators and all the participants for their active participation and learning. Thank you all.
Thank you, Abhirami. Thank you, sir, for your wonderful session.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.